Hi, so in today's video I'm going to show you a couple of good uses for the X and Y axes and snap to grid features within the downloadable program for ScanNCut Canvas. If your ScanNCut Canvas looks different to this, you could well be using the online version. As far as I am aware, the Windows version of the downloadable program looks the same as the Mac version which I'm using here. So I have got this on full screen and I've made my mat at 50%. So let's just say you want to make a box using the X and Y axes and the snap to grid in the downloadable feature is going to be a great help for making 3D projects. So if I want to make a box that is 2 inches by 2 inches by 2 inches, this is how I would do it. So the first thing I'm going to do is come and grab a square. Now if I want my box to be 2 inches wide by 2 inches high, and then I want it to be 2 inches deep, I need to start off with a square that is 6 by 6. So the first thing I'm going to do with this square selected is come to the edit icon here on the right, and I'm going to change the width to 6 and hit enter on my keyboard, and that will make my square 6 by 6. I'm going to come to the X and Y axes and I'm going to put this on 0 under X and 0 under Y, and that will position this top left hand corner of this 6 by 6 square up here in the top left hand corner when I hit the enter key on my keyboard. And I find for using X and Y coordinates that having it positioned up here in 0, 0 just helps me. If you can work yours, having your, shape somewhere in the middle of your mat, then that's fine. So now I'm going to grab another square and I'm going to make this square 2 inches by 2 inches. And this is just a visual aid, and I'm going to colour this in red, just in the hope that you can see it. I'm going to position it on top of the other square. I'm going to select everything, and under the edit icon I'm going to align it to the centre and align it to the middle. This effectively is the base of my box. This will be the side that comes up vertically, and this will be the other side which comes up vertically. So now I want to put in some tabs to make the sides of the box. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to grab a triangle. I'm going to make the triangle 2 inches high. I'm going to leave it maintain aspect ratio selected, and I'm just going to grab this left hand side and drag it in and shrink it down just so that it's like a little slither, because this effectively is going to be the bit that we cut out to make the tabs. Now if I go to the artboard, which is the bottom icon on the right, and I click on snap to grid, when I now grab hold of this, in fact, I'm just going to make a duplicate of it first. So I'm going to come to layers, and down here at the bottom you'll see a plus sign, and I'm just going to make a duplicate. I'm just going to drag that out of the way, come back to artboard, and I've got snap to grid on. So now I'm going to grab this, and when I move it, it will snap to my grid, and I want it to snap to this 2 inch mark here. I'm going to use the down arrow on my keyboard and I'm just going to bring it down a couple of steps, but I need to untick snap to grid or else it will just snap down here. So I'm going to select it. I'm just going to move it down 3 spaces using the 4 directional arrows on my keyboard, and I'm using the down arrow. And you can see now that it's coming below the bottom line of this outer black box, and that's what I want. So now I'm going to select the next piece. I'm going to come to Edit and I'm going to flip it horizontally, and I'm going to do the same thing. So if I click off it, you'll see it's the opposite way now. I'm going to drag it over, but before I do, I'm going to come back to my artboard and click Snap to Grid. So now I can snap it to this 2-inch mark here. It's actually 4 inches. This is at 2, this is at 4. I'm going to untick Snap to Grid, and with it still selected, just going to hit the down arrow 3 times on my keyboard. I'm just going to select one, right click and make a duplicate and drag the duplicate out of the way. I'm going to select the outer box and the 2 little triangles, and I'm going to come to Edit and Subtract, and when I click away you'll see that has now put my notches in for my tabs. So now I'm going to select the outside box, hold my shift key down and rotate this so it's upside down, and I'm going to do the same. So I need to make a duplicate of this, so right click and duplicate, or you can go to layers and duplicate down here at the bottom. This one needs to be flipped the opposite way, so I'm going to come to Edit, flip horizontally, come back to layers, turn on Snap to Grid, and I'm going to snap this to 2 inches. And I'm going to snap this to 4 inches. With it selected, I'm going to untick Snap to Grid, and I'm just going to hit the down arrow on my keyboard 3 times. And again, I'm going to do the same with this one. Now when I'm selecting this, it looks like it's selecting the box, so that must be on top. So I'm going to come to I'm going to right click and say Arrange Center Back. Left click anywhere on the page to deselect, and then click on this again so I get it selected, and then hit the arrows on my keyboard again 3 times. So now when I click on each of these triangles, they're being selected, so they must be on top of the big square. So I'm just going to select the big square and the 2 notches, not this red square, and I'm going to go to Edit and Subtract, and now I've got the notches in there. So this square I've done nothing with apart from use it as a guide. So now when I click on the red square, the big square is being selected. So again, I'm going to right click, arrange and center back, click away to deselect, and then click on the red box. I'm going to now make this just a dash line. So I'm going to remove the fill by selecting the fill colour and taking the opacity all the way down to 0. And then I'm going to go to my layers panel, and I can see that this is the one that's selected because it's highlighted blue. And I can see that it's a cut line, but I need to assign it as a dash line. So I'm going to come to the properties box, and under dash pattern, instead of it being a solid cut line, I'm going to change it to a dash line. So now I'm just going to put in an extra couple of fold lines for these flaps, and that would be the base of the box. So again, I'm going to use the artboard and I'm going to use Snap to Grid. I'm going to come over here to the path icon and select it, and I'm going to click once on the inch line, and then I'm not even touching anything else on the keyboard. This line is snapping automatically to this 2-inch line. I'm going to double click to anchor it. I'm going to come back to properties, and I'm going to make it a dash line, and I'm going to repeat that 3 more times. So I'm going to come to the path icon, left click, drag, double click to anchor it, make it a dash line, select the path icon again, left click, just let go, just drag the mouse over, double click to anchor it and make it a dash line, and then choose the select tool to deselect the path icon. So that is the base of my box, which would be 2 inches by 2 inches. Sometimes when you're making something like this, when you come to fold these flaps in, they may be a little long, so you may have to cut them with the scissors. You could actually double click to expose the nodes and bring them down if you want at this stage, but for now I think I'm going to leave it like that. So I'm going to select everything, right click and make it a group. So that's the base of my box. And if I want to make a lid to go with it, I would do exactly the same, but my lid I would only want to be 1 inch deep. So I'd still have 2 inches because that's the size of the box, but instead of adding 2 inches here and 2 inches here to make it 6 by 6, it would be 4 by 4. So I'm going to come back to the basic shapes, grab a square, and I'm just going to run through this quickly. I'm going to come to the edit icon, make it 4 inches, I'm going to position this at the 0, 0 again, just to make it easier. I find, for me, it just makes it easier. I'm going to grab another square. I'm going to make this one 2 inches. This is just a visual aid. I'm going to place it on top. Because I've got the Snap to Grid on, you can see it's automatically snapping. So I'm snapping it there at the 1 inch position. And I'm going to do the same. I'm going to put my little notches in. So I'm going to grab a triangle. This part of the lid is only 1 inch high, so this only needs to be 1 inch. So under height, make it 1. Squash it in. Oh, I need to go to the artboard and turn the Snap to Grid off. Squash it in. Go back to the edit icon so I can see how wide it is. Just going to make it just under 1/4 inch. I'm going to come back to the artboard, turn on Snap to Grid. I'm going to snap this on the 1 inch line. With it selected, I'm going to right click, make a duplicate. I'm going to flip the duplicate by going to Edit, Flip horizontally, and snapping that on the 4 inch mark. With it selected, I'm going to use the down arrow on my keyboard and move it down 3 places. I have to untick Snap to Grid first. use the little directional arrows on my keyboard, bring it down 3 places, select the other one and do the same. So that's down 3 inches. I'll just make a duplicate of that while I've got it there. I'm just going to select the 2 triangles and the outside square, not this one, not the one in the middle, that's just there as a visual aid. I'm going to come to Edit, Subtract. I'm going to select the outside box, hold my Shift key down and rotate it and bring this one over. Go back to the artboard, turn on Snap to Grid, snap that to the 1 inch mark, right click, I'm going to have to send this to the back, so right click, arrange, send to back. Select this one, right click and duplicate. Flip it. So edit, flip horizontally and then drag this to the 4 inch mark. Go to the artboard, untick Snap to Grid, and with this little notch selected, take it down 3 places on my with the arrow on my keyboard and do the same with this. Again, I'm just going to select the 2 notches and the big outer square and go to Edit and Subtract. When I click in the middle here, it's the big square that's being selected, so that means that's on top. So I'm going to right click, arrange, send to back. Click anywhere on the page to deselect. Select my square. Go to the properties icon, make it a dash line. Now I'm just going to select everything and realign them just in case they've moved. So edit, align center, align middle. And then I'm just going to put the dash lines in here again. So it's back to the path icon, left click, I'm just going to delete that for a minute, back to the artboard, Snap to Grid, choose the path icon, left click, drag it out, double click it to anchor it, go to the properties box, make it a dash line, do the same. And because you've got the Snap to Grid on, it's automatically snapping to that nearest inch line. So now click the select button to deselect, drag an imaginary box around everything and right click and group. Now I'm going to make this ever so slightly bigger because this box is going to end up 2 inches square and obviously you've got these flaps inside. This needs to be a little bit bigger, so I'm just going to go back to edit and you can see it's exactly 4 inches. I'm going to drag it out to be 4.12. I'm going to go to the artboard, untick Snap to Grid and drag it out until it's 4.12 wide and high, and you can see the measurement changing on the right hand side as I do it. So that should be about 1/8 of an inch bigger now when it's all glued together than the 2 inch box. So what I'm going to do now is save this and download it to the machine and cut it. So to save it, you'll go to the top of the page and go to File, and I'm going to export it as an FCM file, which is a ScanNCut cutting file. I'm going to save it on my desktop, and I'm just going to call it "2" box, base and lid, and I'm going to save it. What I'm also going to do is come back to File directly at the top of the screen, and I'm going to go to Transfer FCM File via Internet, because I have a Wi-Fi based machine. And it says that the file is ready to download from the internet to my machine, and I'm just going to say OK. And when I go and put my ScanNCut machine on, this file will be there waiting for me. So you can see that I've sent it over wirelessly, and I've also saved it to my desktop. So if you want to make a folder and keep your files in them, then you can right click on an empty space on your desktop. That will create you a new untitled folder. You can right click on the folder and say rename. And I'm just going to call this Canvas Download Files, and I'm going to drag that file into it. And then this you could save somewhere on your machine. Don't like things being on my desktop. So you could drag this somewhere else. So if I wanted to put it, say, in my documents, could just drag it into my documents and it's gone. Okay, so I've put the top together to save some time, and this is the base, and as you can see, this is what I designed in ScanNCut Canvas, and these are the notched areas that are cut away. And in the video I explained that you can move the nodes down to make these flaps not as big. And by that I mean when you make a box that is like perfectly square like this, so 2 by 2 by 2, when you fold in the sides, sometimes they can be a bit bulky or they don't always sit together. This one actually doesn't look too bad. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to apply some adhesive on these 4 tabs. And if this box was going to hold anything substantial, I would use a wet glue, but just for the video, for speed, I'm using a permanent dry adhesive. So you just want to fold your tabs in, make sure that you line up your cut edge with the fold. You don't want to go over, you don't want to be too far this way because your box won't be square. So just fold in your tab and stick. I'll just do the last one. I'm just going to give it a burnish so that all the sides stick. And now, because I made this 1/8 of an inch bigger in canvas, this will sit over the box permanently. Now the products that I've used for this are some old Stampin' Up products. If you have never used Stampin' Up products before and you would like to see what the quality is like, if you live in the UK, Austria, France, Germany or the Netherlands, leave me a comment directly under this video. Tell me, have you used the products before? If so, what you've used. And what I'll do, I'll put you a little kit together and I'll send it you. So I'll cut you a base, I'll cut you a top, and I'll send you a couple of scraps so that you can use some punches or whatever you've got, a die cutting machine, to embellish your own box. You must be subscribed, so please make sure you're subscribed. Make sure the notification icon is switched on, and that way you'll get a notification when I upload a video. You'll also get notified if you're the winner of the little giveaway. And I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.